Hey everybody, it's Mr. Withers here. I'm going to walk you through today the beginning of our unit on simplifying expressions. And this is really the first building block that we will need in order to start working towards solving equations. And that is one of the cornerstone pieces of pre-algebra. So super important today that we pay attention, we get this down. So what I'd like you to do to start is to actually pause the video and in your notebook, take a shot at this bell ringer problem. And when you're ready to go through the problem with me, then go ahead and click play again on the video. So go ahead and pause now and try that problem. All right, so hopefully you got a chance to look at this in your notebook, and we're going to look at it together. So Susie's mother is paying for Susie and two of her friends to go to the movies. She will buy each of them a ticket for $6.50, a snack for $2.50, and a drink for $3. So we know that each friend is going to get this ticket, snack, and drink. And so we have 2 tickets, 2 snacks, and 2 drinks. So the way that we want to think about this is if I were just one person, I would have $6.50 plus $2.50 plus $3. And when I add those things up, I get $9, $10, and $12 that I am spending at this movie. Now, if I had two of these people, and remember if a number and a parenthesis are touching, it's like they're multiplying, we would know that that would end up costing us $24. Here's the cool thing about what we're doing today. We're going to learn that the distributive property tells us if we have a number outside the parentheses, we can either do everything inside the parentheses first and then multiply by 2, or we can take that 2 and we can distribute it or multiply times everything inside the parentheses. So in this case, 2 times $6.50 is $13. 2 times $2.50 is $5. And 2 times $3 is $6. And when we add those 3 numbers together, we still get $24, the same answer we got before. But instead of multiplying at the end, we've multiplied times each piece along the way. So why would this be helpful to us? Well, we don't always know what those 3 pieces are inside the parentheses. They could be something that we call a variable, which we learned about earlier this year, where we might replace something with an X or a Y or a letter, a different letter, to substitute for something that we don't know. And when we have that, we might not be able to add something like x plus 3 if we don't know what x is. So being able to know that that number outside the parentheses can distribute is going to be really important. So let's take a look at how that applies to our math. So first off, what we need to put in our notes today, and I'd like you to put the title on this page of Distributive Property. Distributive property. And hopefully when you see that word distributive, you see a root word that you've probably seen before, to distribute. Okay, distribute like to pass out or hand out. If I was going to distribute candy to the class, I would give that out to each person in the room, right? So the distributive property is going to take a number and distribute it to everything inside the parentheses. So in fancy math terms here, it says to multiply a sum or difference by a number, we're going to multiply each term inside the parentheses by the number outside the parentheses. So we can see right here on symbols, if we had A times the quantity, or the parentheses, B plus C, it's the same thing as if we had A times B plus A times C. Same thing here. If we had A times the quantity B minus C, it's the same thing as if we had A times B minus A times C. So to check and make sure that this does really work, they did below here the same thing that we just did with our movie problem, where they showed, hey, if I take 6 plus 7, I get 13, and I take that times 5, it's going to be the exact same as if I did the 5 times the 6 and the 5 times the 7. All right, so let's look at how this might look in practice. Taking a look at this first problem here, 5 times 12 plus 4. So I'm going to rewrite it down here, 5 times 12 plus 4. Instead of adding first and then multiplying, I'm going to distribute. So I'm going to take that 5 and distribute to the two pieces. I would have 5 times 12, which is 60, plus 5 times 4, which is 20, which we would know to be 80. If you took 12 plus 4 and you got 16 times 5, you'd still get 80, so we know that it works. I'm going to skip the 20 minus 3 and go down to this one. Okay, this is an example of why this distributive property is so helpful to us. In this case, I've got 4 times the quantity x plus 5. Now, I can't do the parentheses first this time because I don't know what x is. So I can't take x plus 5 and then multiply by 4. So I have to use the distributive property. So I take that 4 and distribute to both pieces. So I know 4 times x is 4x. 4 times 5 is 20. So 4 times the quantity x plus 5 can be simplified to 4x plus 20. And this would be our answer to that problem. All we're doing today is simplifying. We are not going to solve. We're not going to be able to find out what x equals because we don't even have an equals sign here. All that we have is an expression, and our goal is to just simplify it and get rid of those parentheses. Let's try another one. Let's do y plus 10 times 6, like we had. So we're going to take that 6 and distribute. So we can see that can distribute backwards. It's working the exact same way. And this is going to simplify to be 6y plus 60. So the 6 times the y, the 6 times the 10, we have distributed to both pieces. All right, I want to jump to a tricky one. Let's try this one. Negative 9 times n minus 7. Watch closely on this one. So I take that negative 9 and I distribute. And I know that negative 9 times n is going to be negative 9n. But here's where it gets a little bit tricky. This minus sign is the same thing as a negative sign. Okay, subtraction and negatives are the same symbol. So what I really have here is a negative 7. So when I take negative 9 times negative 7, remember, if a bad thing happens to the bad guy, that's good, right? Two negatives are going to make a positive. So this actually ends up being plus 63, not minus 63. So you cannot always just take whatever sign shows up in the middle there. We have to be careful and actually look at when our first number is multiplying times that inside number, what sign is there with it? So negative 9 times negative 7 is positive 63. So our answer would be negative 9n plus 63. All right, let's try a couple more. So what I'd like you to do now is pause your video again and try these 6 problems in your notebook on your own. And when you have those 6 answers, come on back and hit play, and we'll go through them together. So go ahead and pause now. All right, so let's go through the answers now. Hopefully you had a chance to try these on your own, starting with 1A. So if I take the 4 and I distribute, I have 4 times 6, which is 24, plus 4 times 3, which is 12, and I can simplify that to be 36. So that should be my answer for 1A. 1B, let's change colors here. I'm going to take that 4 and distribute. So I have 4 times 9, which is 36, and I have 4 times negative 2, which is negative 8, so minus 8, and I can simplify that to be 28. All right, moving on to 3A. 3A, I'm going to take that 2 and distribute. So I've got 2 times A, which is 2A, and I have 2 times positive 5, which is positive 10. And I cannot go any further because I don't know what A is. So 2A plus 10 is my answer there. On 3B, I'm going to take that 3 and distribute. So I have 3 times B, which is 3B. And I have 3 times positive 6, which is positive 18. Hopping down to 4a, distribute that 4. I've got 4 times d, which is 4d. I have 4 times negative 3, which is negative 12. And finally, for b. So I've got a negative 7 being distributed here. So distribute. Negative 7 times e is negative 7e. Negative 7 times negative 4 is positive 28. So make sure you have that plus sign there. All right. Hopefully this is making some sense to you. Make sure your answers look like mine. If you have any questions on these 6 problems, now would be a really good time to raise your hand and ask either a substitute or ask our student teacher, and make sure you're getting a little bit of help on this. If this makes sense to you and you're feeling good, then you are good to move on to our assignment today. The assignment is page 176, 11 through 19 odds, 21 through 29 odds, and those extra 3 problems at the end, 41, 56, and 57. The textbook page is posted in Canvas. You'll do the work on your own in your notebook. And if you're an in-person student, just keep that notebook. We'll check it tomorrow. If you're an online student, go ahead and take a picture of that and submit it on the assignment tab on Canvas. The answer key is also posted in Canvas if you'd like to check along the way to make sure you're doing things correctly. And you should now have about 20 minutes left to work on this and hopefully get this done so you don't have any homework tonight. So use your time wisely. Thanks for listening, and we will see you tomorrow.